Fallout 4. Which faction are you enjoying the most? Of the 4 major Fallout 4 factions, which one are you having the best time with?
I mean, for me, it's the Institute, which I guess I can't say too much about, but they are different enough from anything we've seen in Fallout before. I actually kind of avoided the Brotherhood of Steel because it's like, well, I've been there, done that many times. So it's like, hey, what's new and exciting in the Institute? And there's some interesting stuff in there.
Okay, yeah. The Institute is markedly different than any other Fallout faction before, and we're not going to spoil why that is. But the Institute is really cool. No, they're not aliens, Dan.
Spoilers.
People don't. You
They're
tricked
alien
me.
robot
Yeah.
Deathclaws.
Yeah.
What if they're actually all sheep?
They are not sheep. They are not aliens. I can say
That'd be fine.
that much.
Goats?
What about you, Miranda? Goats?
We may have a similar one. I like the railroad.
Oh, you like the railroad?
Yes,
Okay.
I like them a lot. I like what they stand for and what they're trying to do in the community.
Okay, and we can talk about that in fairly nebulous terms.
Yeah.
Railroad evokes images of underground railroads. So what do you like about them?
They're just generally pleasant and accepting of, like, AI life forms, and I appreciate the AI lives. They're just trying to be happy, okay?
Yeah,
they were created.
That kind of bored me about them.
We should be nice.
Because, I mean, like, everyone else is kind of like shades of gray. They don't have the dark underbelly that they kind of need to blend in there. And make it be like, hey, are you pro-slavery or anti-slavery? It's like, that's very cut and dry.
Yeah.
I would have liked them to have some reason not to want to side with them.
They're like early on, they ask you a question, and it's very black and white, and you're kind of like, well, what it depends on the circumstance. No, just yes or no. I'm like, well, no. I kind of want to say it depends.
Well, they are kind of binary that way, and there is, are you thinking like maybe more like a Gaius Baltar type vibe, where things are a little more nebulous with their sympathies?
I mean, like the Brotherhood of Steel and the Institute, they both have like reasons they're doing what they're doing, but they're flawed philosophies.
Yeah,
they're not cut and dry. Like they're like more so with the Institute than the Brotherhood. Like they are like probably not very nice people, but like they have their own philosophy, their reason for doing what they're doing, even though it's not something that you would inherently think of as good.
On the other hand, like the railroad does have a very specific like central, like we're just helping these guys, like we are doing this one specific thing, as opposed to trying to like fix the wasteland. Like,
That's
they're not
true.
trying to do that. They just want to do this one thing and help this one group.
Yeah.
They have a very localized goal. You're
Yes.
right.
And
Sorry. Go.
I also really like the quest for finding them, because it's one of the few times when Fallout just kind of takes its hand off your shoulder and just like, okay, solve this puzzle.
Yeah.
Definitely. I do think that like of the factions, like the Railroad and the Minutemen are kind of like off on the side.
Right.
And there's a bigger confrontation between the Brotherhood and the Institute, and they're kind of like the ones that they have really big agendas that you may or may not disagree with. Whereas Minutemen are like, we want to help people, and the Railroad's like, we want to help AI people.
Although, again, without spoiling, the Minutemen's role in the world becomes more complex as the story goes on.
That's true.
There is that, too. What about you, Sean? You've been quiet.
Yeah, I haven't had too much confrontation with the Institute yet, so I don't know too much about it. But like both in this game, the little bit of sort of interaction I've had with the Brotherhood of Steel, and then I've obviously in Fallout 3, I kind of like the Brotherhood of Steel. Like I kind of align myself philosophically in that sort of like my character, in my mind, would align themselves with something that's a little bit more honor bound and duty bound, because they have ties to like former military before the war and before the the nuclear sort of apocalypse. And I think like while a lot of like atrocities can be attributed to that philosophy, I think that that's something that like me personally I like kind of involving myself with. So that's the faction I kind of see myself being aligned with. The
Brotherhood is definitely still kind of a knight in shining armor faction, except in this one they're much darker than they were in 3. Like in 3 they were just pure good, which was a little bit dull. It was, and because that story was much more like, okay, you are going to side with the Brotherhood and you are going to destroy the Enclave. This one is you got more freedom to decide what you're going to do, which makes it nice that the Brotherhood is much more selfish. Like they are going back to their roots in Fallout 1 and 2, where they're much more about kind of hoarding technology for themselves and deciding who doesn't deserve this advanced stuff, which is it's not necessarily the most kind-hearted thing. They're not
militaristic despotism. Yeah, I mean you
militaristic, like parents are like, we're doing this for your own good.
Yeah, that's literally a thing that they type on a terminal. Like we took out one one of the scribes, and she was on a field mission. And whenever you go to access the terminal after her, she's like, "This like data is encrypted for your own good, essentially, like from the Brotherhood of Steel." You know, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. What about like that? And that to me gives them a great dimension that they really lacked in 3.
What about you, Brendan? What faction are you going with?
So I like the Railroad, but not for their standpoint. I mean, it's kind of fine. I'll go with that. But I like how they operate. It is very cloak and dagger.
Yeah.
It is like reminds me of like Cold War era like spies. Like they have dead drops, they have code names, they have like these secret locations, and like the way they communicate. It's just so much fun, and being able to see like where they put these like dead drop locations. You can find caches all over the world, and you won't notice unless you've already been initiated and you kind of see like a little marker of like, hey, these are where things are, and you'll know like, oh wait, I know what that is, and you go investigate and get some free items.
That's excellent. Tweet at us next week and remind me, guys. Just say, remember code names. I don't want to spoil code names. We'll talk about it next week because that's a fun moment.
The Institute is very cloak and dagger as well, though.
That's true.
Like I really like
Even
how they're
more so, though.
I like how they're portrayed as a boogeyman no one really knows exists.
Yeah, we got to be. We know that. Yeah, I mean, you run into that early in the story, like that's that. But how that actually works? Anyway, save that for later.